right, and we're live. So another failed experiment. I was trying to get Matt's audio on the cast because it's only me this week. So Chris has some scheduling difficulties. So no lunch, no who knows what Chris is having to do. Sounds like a real mess schedule-wise. But I'll try to get the Discord audio working so we can have guests on audio-wise, and that should be something like work the bugs out in the future. But I was going to have Matt on because, as you see in front of me, Twilight 2000, so the Free League version of Twilight 2000, I worked with Matt on a supplement for that and wanted to talk about that and show that off and actually get Matt's kind of side of what inspired it and kind of what went into developing that, because I think that's a great thing, and Free League has the license. They give you templates and everything to produce that stuff, so it's good. Hey Miguel, hey Hypno, hey Matt. sorry about the Discord shuffle there. Yeah, it's a very there we go. It's a very kind of jerry-rigged thing I had going on to try to get the audio off the tablet in there, and I don't think my microphone was working very well, but we will figure that out. I'll get everything worked out so we can have some nice audio and some guests on. But I appreciate the attempt. Sorry to suddenly spring that on you, Matt. All right. It's not raining, yeah, because I actually came to the office. Yeah, it was very last minute that Chris had to cancel, so I came to the office. It was a trick. I deceived you. No rainy beginning. But oh yeah, Miguel, I definitely have seen all the Rings of Power nonsense. I can't believe Amazon's social media is so bad, or at least their promotional promotional department for this series. And this is a big series, and this is a lot of money. I mean, maybe it's not a lot of money for Amazon, but it's a lot of money. And I can't believe that. Yeah, and we'll talk a little bit about that too. The rights, Warner Brothers. I think the Saul Zaentz Company is being a little tricky because I guess they've been in negotiations for a while with the film rights and with Warner Brothers, and they're fighting over money as well, the profits from the Peter Jackson movies. And so this may have been just a tactic to get Warner Brothers to negotiate a little harder. Yeah, no problem. No, I'll get something set up really straightforward. I was even using the Idle Red Hands Discord because I didn't have the upturned tables saved on this tablet. So it wasn't even the right Discord. But yeah, we'll get that on. That'll be a fun thing to do too. And speaking of audio, I have it may be video as well, but I'm talking to Resnova, Alex at Resnova, and we're going to do an interview with him next week. So it should be before the next weekly, early March, and talk a little bit about Warzone Eternal. So I was excited that they were available. They're getting ready. They were going to do a Kickstarter, I guess, at the end of the year, last year, and then pushed it back. And so spring is all we've heard so far. So I'll see if I can get more details about that, and we'll see what's going on with Warzone Eternal. Yes, so that should be good. I'm really curious because their Facebook, they've been posting things. There's an artist who's been posting some images on Twitter that's been doing kind of black and white stuff. The Dark Apostles were up there, and a few kind of teases. I think it was mostly Dark Legion imagery. So there is artwork, and there were test models. I think one of the contractors that's writing for the rules, at least, was showing off some assembled minis. So let's see what happens. But we won't know. Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. We're working. We're in the 1980s, I think, on our way to 2000. So please, anybody that is listening, that enjoys this either from the archives or live, please subscribe on the YouTube channel. We're getting close to 2,000. It's taken a while, but especially with the rebranding and everything. But we're on our way to 2,000 subscribers for the YouTube channel. That's great. All right. Yeah, 1,000 was hard enough. I can't believe it's almost 2. Okay, so let's get started with this week. Thanks, everybody, for joining in the chat. And we will, hopefully hit that soon. I think Social Blade said March. So they're predicting. I don't know how good their algorithms are. They're predicting. All right. Nice. Yeah, I know. I hope they do. Yeah, I'm really curious because they're talking. This is Resnova. So Resnova was saying they're going to start small and just introduce kind of one faction at a time and maybe a starter set or something. But, like the original Warzone, there weren't a lot of models out at the very beginning. So they're going to start slow and build up on that. And I'm curious to ask, because this is a very different time than when Warzone was released. And, there's 3D printing, there's all kinds of things with, so miniatures, agnostic games that are just rule sets. And they did even mention that they wanted to make the game kind of backwards compatible as far as the miniatures, so you could use your old miniatures. So the design of the new miniatures, it's not like the Protos, the Warzone Resurrection stuff, where it's a very different style. It's much more like human scale. This is going to be kind of heroic and chunky, like the Heartbreaker minis. So I was happy to hear that they're encouraging people to use their old minis. All right. Nice. Oh, that would be great. Yeah, that would be perfect, Matt. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do if we when we hit 2,000, hopefully before next week. If we hit 2,000, we'll do a giveaway. Thanks. That's a great suggestion. All right, so let's get started this week. So a Chrisless episode, but it should be okay. There's a few things that would be great to have Chris here for, but most of it should be fine. I'll just stumble my way through. All right. Welcome to the weekly. I'm Jeremy, and it's only me this week. So Chris has a scheduling problem, so I'll be doing a solo cast, and I may have tricked you on the live stream because I'm not doing it from home. I've got an empty chair. Oh, and I should bring my Chris graphic up, right? I did have a Chris looking shocked. Maybe I'll wait until I say something shocking to put Chris in the chair, the PNG on the other side of me. But this week on the weekly, Warner Brothers says they own the Lord of the Rings film rights. Roll20 gets a new CEO. Kickstarter makes a statement about NFTs. So they've already talked about blockchain. So they've said no NFTs for now. Limited edition Dune core book and friend or foe for Twilight 2000. So let's start with the Warner Brothers. So they have asserted that they still have the rights, the film rights for the Lord of the Rings. And this may actually turn out to be a negotiating tactic because I guess for the better part of a decade, they've been negotiating the Saul Zaentz Company that owns the rights from the 70s. And Warner Brothers haven't been negotiating. And Warner Brothers has stated that they have done enough to maintain these rights because there is an obligation. So to hold the license, they need to have something constantly in development and be doing new things with that license. And this may just be a negotiating tactic because they have been in negotiations for the film rights as well as private mediation for profits from the Peter Jackson films. So New Line and Warner Brothers have been fighting with them over that, or their cut of those rights. But Warner Brothers now states that they have publicly affirming that they shouldn't be shopping those rights around because they are already owned by Warner Brothers for now, and that they've met their obligations for the license and made timely payments and all that good stuff. So And the tricky thing about this is, and why it obviously seems like a negotiation, is Warner Brothers is also the distributor for Saul Zaentz' most, I guess, acclaimed or popular properties. So the Saul Zaentz Company was the producers for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Amadeus, The English Patient, a lot of Academy Award-winning films, and Warner Brothers is their business partner and distributor for those films. So this is probably just some maneuvering. And I believe in 2017, Saul Zaentz himself passed away. So this is what is left of the company and the management. So there is a fight over the share of profits for the, I guess, 90s and early 2000s movies. It's been a long fight, as well as the film rights. So, as we were talking about last week, they are shopping them around, but maybe not in good faith. Maybe they're just, saying that because they they didn't like the date they brought to the dance, and they're probably just seeing whether or not there was something else out there. And I guess the perception is that the Tolkien works may be worth more than before because they have had a successful film, two second one semi-successful, I guess, but two successful film trilogies, and then the Amazon series, which, as we know, may or may not be successful. I would definitely sell those rights before the Amazon series does whatever it's going to do, because they're not doing a great job of marketing that series. So we're going to see what happens, and that may tarnish the perception of what you can do with the Tolkien license, and especially since it's going to be difficult to have to replicate or be able to even compete with what Peter Jackson was able to do with those films. I mean, there's probably a way to go at it, and the interesting thing is Amazon. So we talked about the thing that was carved out of the rights for the Lord of the Rings that Saul Zaentz had. So what Warner Brothers has is film rights, and there's also merchandising and live events and things. But they carved out a television series right. So a television series over 8 episodes was separate from those rights, and I guess that's what Amazon has. Nobody knows that no one has really gotten the details about, but we're suspecting that's what that is, because that TV license was kind of carved out of there, and Amazon is obviously going to try to do more than 8 episodes, and they don't want to retell the story of the books, so they're doing the appendices. So it's like trying to make a television series out of a glossary of terms. So they're using the appendices, I guess, of Return of the King, that talks about the first and second age and kind of the sorts of things you would find in the Silmarillion, but they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion. And both the Silmarillion and the Unfinished Tales are also owned by them, but there's a matching rights deal that I guess nobody is doing right now. So the estate, should the estate decide to make a movie or content based on those two compilations, then Saul Zaentz also has matching rights for that. So we'll see. We'll see what that means. And of course, we also talked about, this isn't coming out until April 12th, 2024, but Warner Brothers is in production of their Lord of the Rings animated series about the Rohirrim. So that's, I think, what they're saying is and I guess that'll be a theatrical release. I don't know. I don't know what it has to be now, and things have changed so much in the market. It may not need to come to theaters. Streaming may be enough. But they're claiming that their active production on that series is fulfilling anything the license would require as far as new properties. So we'll see a lot of Warner Brothers Tolkien animation. I just hope it's not the same, Korean studio that does all of the DC stuff. I mean, it's okay, but it's very by the book, kind of TV animation looking. So it's not going to be anything amazing. And I think they should come up with a different technique or something to make this kind of stand out. I think looking to kind of anime or kind of Korean animation style is not going to be particularly great, but we'll see. So that that story seems to have changed from last week, but we'll follow up on this and see where this goes, and look forward next year to, I guess, next spring to that release, and see if they can do animation well for this this world. All right, and the other piece of news we heard was Roll20 is getting new management. So a former Google exec, Ankit Lal, has taken over the reins as CEO. So, and as we know, because of the lockdowns and pandemic, Roll20 has been on a bit of a roll as far as success and active accounts and things. They've had a couple of years of really big growth, and so this new CEO is looking to take advantage of that and kind of actively going to develop and try to expand the platform. So if you don't know, Roll20 started as a crowdfunding campaign in 2012, and basically focused on just the big guys. I think Dungeons and Dragons was kind of basically what it was intended for, probably, and Pathfinder. And because it was web-based, you could just send a link, or you could just click a link on the page itself and get started in their virtual tabletop. That made it very easy to play online, and the necessity of having to play online was very useful in these past few years. So they are saying that the platform has had more than 250,000 campaigns. Wow. So that's a lot. That's a lot of role playing. And a quote from Lal, the new CEO, the incoming CEO, says, "I have worked with and run product teams before, and what I think you're going to see out of me is a very deep focus on our users and publishers." So that's good. It's good they're bringing in, trying to help the user experience and bring in new publishers. Follow up, that's the pandemic brought across two key personas that we haven't historically seen, and in much faster velocity than I think anyone predicted. So here he's going to spell out the two personas of virtual tabletops. So the first is a cohort of users who are already familiar with tabletop role-playing games, but maybe haven't played them online. The second is what he calls the TTRPG curious. The die curious? Okay. And so people that have, kind of maybe watched some Critical Role or something, or just noticed that it's getting popular, in on Twitch and streaming, that there's actually categories for it now. So those are kind of the two user bases they're going to go after: people that wouldn't have considered playing online before, and people that have never done any of it. So we'll see. And improving their core usability is something that's very important. And the first thing they said they wanted to develop is a image placement logic tool, or tools, plural, that will help kind of on the fly present things visually. So as you know, you can kind of build things. You can do homebrew and build things from the ground up in Roll20, but you can also use kind of pre-made, published battle maps and things for published modules and adventures and campaigns, and they're not cheap. So it's a we'll see. And buying things twice is a little frustrating, but I guess if you're if that's the experience that your group enjoys, that works well. So we're trying to build up the entire tabletop industry. So right now they say they have hundreds of games and over 800 character sheets available. That's a lot of different character sheets for games, and 10,000 SKUs. So a SKU is like the barcode, right? So basically a inventory, a unique inventory item. So that could be, sets of pawns or something, virtual pawns or maps, but it could also be, adventures and rule books and everything. So you can buy from them 10,000 different items. And a lot of that is, user contributed, and then a lot of it is, licensed, published material. So they report regularly, Roll20 does, to the OR group. So the OR group releases the report on what's the most popular games. And of course, as we've seen since 2019, so right before the pandemic, 5th edition is dominating. So they're up to 53.7% of the sessions on Roll20. Pathfinder's declined to 3.2%, which is a heartbreaker. That's half. They used to be at almost 6.5%. But Call of Cthulhu is up to 11.9%, and so that's, I think, the number one game in Japan. So if they have Japanese language support, that's definitely why they're seeing that, because that's more popular than anything, even any domestically designed systems in Japan. Yeah, Call of Cthulhu is Japan's number one. And of course they have this uncategorized, so in that report, so maybe small things that aren't technically supported, or homebrews, or modified systems, and those are still significant. So when they first started out, they were onboarding, so adding to the to what they supported, about one title a quarter, so about 4 a year, 4 game systems a year. They were adding, now it's about 100 titles. So what is that, 400 a year? Oof. So part of that, what they did was an automated process, so probably very imperfect and maybe a little frustrating. So they're going to focus on more specifically kind of creating a roadmap and adding things with better support and slicker features. The one thing that, and it'd be great if Chris was here to talk about with this, is if Roll20 does become the most dominant, and it seems like they've got the most advertising, the most presence, they do become the most dominant virtual tabletop, then they may actually be able to pick winners and losers, as far as if that is a really dominant way that people are playing, and hopefully it won't be for much longer, then if they don't support your system, and if you've got to kind of build it from scratch inside Roll20, or just kind of use very limited tools and things, then they are going to be picking winners and losers in the tabletop industry, as far as like indie RPGs and things, and that's not great. That's not a great thing to have, because then they can also be approaching these companies and saying, these small publishers, or maybe even like indie single developers, and saying, well, if you pay us some money, then we can maybe work something, get that character sheet on on Roll20 for you. So hopefully that's not going to be the case. We don't know, and it really hasn't been very encouraging. We've seen this with Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, and now we're seeing it with Roll20, that these former big tech execs, Google and Microsoft, and are weaseling their way into more niche. And I mean, they have the online experience, so maybe that's a good thing, or they have digital platform experience. But I wouldn't overestimate that as a huge qualifier for understanding a hobby. So they may know how to build a platform, but I don't know if they'll know how to keep game masters and players happy. We'll see what that means in the future. And that was also something, and why Wizards has a former Microsoft exec as well, is they're really pushing digital platforms for everything. And I think, of course, there was huge profits for the last 2 years, and it brought a lot of people into that. But hopefully people return to sanity and want to actually sit across a table and drink and talk with people face to face. And when we can do it not wearing masks, it'll be much more satisfying. But hopefully, what makes the tabletop hobby great is that you interact with people face to face, as much as possible. It's great for people that to keep in touch with and to play remotely. For people that are continents or hemispheres apart, it's a great thing. It's a very useful tool, but I still think there's a lot of value in interacting socially in IRL, as the kids say. All right. And another company flirting with digital nonsense that maybe they shouldn't be is Kickstarter, of course. And I should get a reaction, or at least a groan from Chris on this one. But already, I think Kickstarter's announcement about using blockchain technology turned off a lot of people. And I think Chris was one of them that said they don't feel as good about Kickstarter as a company, and supporting them with the idea that they're going to be coming up with a kick coin or whatever. So they have made an announcement because of some of this fear that they won't allow NFTs on their blockchain protocol. So, and they're also kind of reaching out to creators and backers to help us. Tell us what you want. Help us create this thing. We know we want to integrate the blockchain. So what's the best way to do it? So we'll see. But for now, that was a very suspicious part of this statement, is for now, NFTs will not be allowed. But yeah, we don't know how long that's going to last. And so the big announcement that they entitled, "We Won't Make Changes Without You," mentioned NFTs, of course, and also talking about how they want to, reach out and get as much feedback as possible from the community. So these new technologies, as a quote from a rep, these new technologies are tools that are only as good as what they're used to build. It's our responsibility to make sure that they serve creators, backers, and the entire creative ecosystem, and that we are designing thoughtfully with full awareness of the challenges. I'm really getting, a lot of this very general kind of corporate speak. Basically all of these companies, and especially like the video game companies and everybody that's adopting blockchain and NFT, they just need to admit that we know there's a lot of virtual cryptocurrency whales out there, and we want a piece of the action. And so if they're going to mint their own currency, and then so they do kind of try to defend what they might do with blockchain. So the blockchain is, in first place, and ostensibly meant to open the use of crowdfunding platforms to a wider global audience. So, for example, they say Latin America and Southeast Asia, as well as Russia and the Middle East, are very underserved as far as being able to participate in any crowdfunding. So they're not being specific. Hey, K5, thanks. We've got a member and a dinosaur. Sorry. And so this decentralized solution will allow people, so not having to, as I think it's a banking issue, basically. So the parts of the world that Kickstarter isn't allowed to serve, it's because of their banking relationships or business deals, and they just can't. There's certain geographical lines they can't cross, and so if you can purchase an in-game currency like a crypto coin from Kickstarter, or use that to be able to invest, or that's how things are funded, then it may help. It may help reach these. But I think that's kind of putting the best possible face on it. I think basically they want all the kids, all the crypto billionaires that invested in the late 2000s, early teens. They want that millions, and they want to see their cut of that millions. So we're gonna, once there is a crypto way to become a backer, we're going to see these numbers, the dollar amounts of these campaigns just hit the roof because break the any of the records that we've seen before, because so many people have all of this pretend money to throw around. But so we'll see. So another statement was to be very clear, we will never require our users to use cryptocurrency to launch or back a project, and we have no plans to allow NFTs. So that's where that quote comes from. They're saying you're not going to be forced to do it, but they want in on that. They're seeing that as a lot of, a lot of money left on the table if you're not allowing. But the same way they're talking about the ecological. There's another thing that comes up, kind of ecological hazard that cryptocurrency is, at least mining currency, and kind of how people are taking advantage of, economically less developed countries to do this. It's, I don't know. It's going to be a strange thing that I don't know if they're going to be able to execute well. And they, will only listen to the people that are saying things they want to hear, I think, as far as their feedback. And we're seeing once the normies are asking about cryptocurrency, like once your uncle that saw the Super Bowl commercial for a crypto coin is asking you exactly what's this all about? Should I be getting in on this? You know it's trouble, because it feels so much like a Ponzi scheme, or what they call decentralized, or there's no accountability kind of stock market where pump and dump and misrepresentation. There's no body single like SEC type group or department of any sort of organization that's monitoring this stuff. So you're seeing all of these things, and especially with NFTs, where they're getting influencers or people that have huge audiences of maybe naive people or maybe very digitally inclined people to be investing in things that they don't really know what they're getting involved with. And then people are just, rug pulling these things that they're making all these promises and saying, as a community, we're going to, take this money and be doing something with this whole process. And then people just disappear with the money, because it's all kids. It's all like when you look at some of these groups that are releasing NFTs, it's a lot of kids. And if you give kids millions of dollars, what do you think they're going to do? But they are stating their commitment to accountability and collaboration. And one thing they did mention is Silo, a blockchain platform that purports to be carbon negative. So this is getting real messy. So they focus primarily on carbon offsetting and carbon credits, to the initiatives to make them more green. But how true is that? And is that just a branding thing that Silo is doing? So we'll see. And Kickstarter saying that blockchain protocols will address long-term problems and much-needed creator tools. And it is decided that it does need an advisory council, composed of users and creators, to kind of guide them in how these things should be used. So we'll see. And this blockchain and NFT talk has encouraged a lot of people to look for alternatives. And so, if this is making you a little bit nervous about what is Kickstarter exactly up to and what money are they trying to go after, you can look at alternatives like GameFound, Indiegogo, and of course, the self-publishing platforms like itch.io, and a lot of places where you can support things, as well as people can basically kind of create their own crowdfunding on their own website if they've got a PayPal account or whatever. So we'll see. And all of this talk, it hasn't affected financially what Kickstarter is doing. They're still up in value. So it's not hurting them very much. But they have been silent after that initial announcement of blockchain, of trying to figure out how to use this blockchain thingamajig. They were completely silent for 2 months. So this is the first kind of statement that's said we're not allowing NFTs at this time. So hopefully that is encouraging. I don't know. We'll see. All of these companies are deciding how best to take advantage of this new situation, and maybe not really considering how much that may destabilize or hurt their reputation when you already have problems with reliability and accountability with Kickstarter, with the terms of these campaigns and people just walking away with money, or buying a house instead of finishing their game. And so we'll see what this means in the future. But I would encourage people, if you're feeling kind of uncomfortable with this, to look at some of the other platforms where you can support crowdfunding. But something that you may want to support, if you've got if you are a crypto billionaire or at least a millionaire, you may want to support this next item. So Modiphius has just announced a Imperial edition of Dune: Adventures in the Imperium core rulebook. So this is not a cheap item, but they're producing a limited edition collector's item that is a leather-wrapped, bound by using artisanal medieval techniques, a book that will be bound and covered in leather, as well as a stunning custom-weathered antique brass cover plate engraved with a dramatic Worm Rider design. And leather bound and having a brass plate as its kind of the illustration on the front. So the photos that they included with this notice are gorgeous. So it would be fun if this was not real leather and it wasn't artisanally made, if that's a word. It may be a little bit more tempting, but let's get to that sticker shock. So this will be a web store exclusive for them, and they're only going to make 150 of these. So they're very limited, and they tried to explain. So there's free shipping. Free shipping. There you go. You save a little bit there. Free shipping, and these are coming from the studio of El Artisano del Rey, who is meticulously handcrafting this book, and it's a beautiful looking book, and it will contain the contents of the core book, and they're even doing, I think, gilt pages. I think it's a color on the edge of the page. I'm forgetting right now, but it's the standard edition, the beautifully designed standard edition of the book. So I don't know if they're even going to increase the paper quality. Maybe they have to for binding purposes. We'll see. But this will set you back about $740 or 550 British pounds. So it's not a cheap item, but it is a rare and exclusive item. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, I don't know what the demand is for that, but that's a beautiful edition of that book. I don't know if you would ever want to even crack the binding of that book. But it is a thing that you can purchase. So we'll see. And they talked about for the shipping, of course, the shipping is free because of the cost. They'll start in April of this year. And what they're going to do is kind of roll them out in waves as they get them. So I guess the production time, because they are being handmade, production time is going to take a little bit. So the first wave is expected to go out in April. So probably first come, first serve, the people that have first ordered will be receiving them. And added value, you're going to be getting the PDF as well. So for $740, yes, you get a PDF. Yes, you get free shipping. But wait, there's more. So if you are feeling particularly decadent, or this is the game of your dreams, if Adventures in the Imperium was better than you could have ever imagined, or you're just getting ready for the Dune sequel, there you go. And of course, they say there's going to be more releases soon coming for this system. We've already had the Arrakis source book, so there will be more coming out. But talking about things that are in PDF form that are well worth your purchase and cost slightly less than $740, I was working recently with one of the patrons on our Patreon, Matt, and Matt is in the chat right now, I'm sure. And I was trying to get him to do some audio on Discord for this part of the podcast, but we couldn't get the technical bugs worked out. I think it was it was just difficult to hear each other, so it would have been a very odd conversation. But we'll do that. I want to get kind of Matt's perspective and kind of the origins of this project and how he approached doing this. But for Free League's Twilight 2000 4th edition, Matt has created a supplement called Friend or Foe. And the description on Drive-Thru RPG says, "The roads have never been more treacherous. The wilds are taking back what was once theirs, and the ruined cities offer as much death as they do shelter. Throughout this hellscape, survivors make their way, and nothing is as terrifying as the moment you meet another traveler." So Friend or Foe contains 10 extended encounters for the Twilight 2000 4th edition by Free League, and it's intended as a supplement for the core material. So if you want to add, so I think they have a deck basically that they're using, or they're reproduced in the book as well. But the deck of cards that was included in the box set does offer a set of encounters, and this will add 10 more encounters. And I have to say, just personally, so I have a little bit invested. I'm not completely being completely objective, but Matt sent me the writing for each of these encounters, and I did illustrations for each of them. So a cover illustration as well as one for each of the 10 encounters, and the writing was really inspiring. So he just kind of gave me freedom to do, to depict these people that you run into, these characters, however I saw them. But his writing was so descriptive that they were very rich, and immediately I saw, what these NPCs would look like in the world. So it was a really fun project to work on, and you can take a look at some of my work on that page. Oh, and just recently, Matt has updated to include 3 versions. So the original base file that was using the Free League template, a booklet style file, and a page-by-page version of the PDF makes it easier for printing and viewing on tablets. So, because a lot of PDF viewers just put things in a row that you can kind of scroll through. So maybe a little bit easier than originally how Free League presented them in their PDF. So I'll put a link to that in the description. And thank you so much, Matt, for thinking of me to get involved in that project. And I will talk to Matt. We'll do a little interview or something about that to promote that a little bit more. And he just suggested before we started the cast. So the YouTube channel is on their way to 2,000 subscribers. So when we reach 2,000 subscribers, Matt suggested we do a giveaway of this supplement. So any Twilight 2000 players on the channel, please stay tuned and subscribe if you're not a subscriber to get us there faster. And we'll give away a supplement for Twilight 2000. How appropriate when we hit our 2000th subscriber. But so I'll talk about that a little bit more, and there'll be a link, of course, in the description for everything I talked about, including that insanely priced Dune, the Imperial Edition. See, I knew that they were... I knew the Imperium must be skimming off the top if they can afford to make books like that. All right. So that will do it for this week. Please come back and see us again next week. And hopefully it will be us instead of me monologuing. And so Chris and I usually do this live stream, which then becomes the audio for the podcast. The podcast audio is just kind of from the introduction to the conclusion, but the audio on the RSS feed for the Patreon is the entire audio of the live stream, including the question and answer kind of back and forth with the chat at the end, and as well as kind of the preamble and kind of off-topic rantings that Chris and I do before we get started. So if you want to hear us complain about jobs or the weather or childcare in Japan, that would be the time to listen. So if you want to become a patron, patreon.com/upturntable is where you can see that. And for as little as $1, you can join us, and that'll give you access to the RSS feed. So everything goes up there, and the audio, of course, is sweetened for both the podcast and the RSS. So it sounds a little bit nicer than what YouTube is currently giving you on the live stream. But this live stream is then archived both on YouTube and Twitch, and I think even Facebook. If you find me on Facebook, you can also find it. But somehow, YouTube and Twitch are actually less sensitive and less fussy with video than Facebook. Some of the Facebook videos have been have been claimed for various odd reasons. So and we do this every week, and the website is Upturned Table, of course, and that's where you can have access to everything that we do, including the lore videos, actual plays, reviews of games, and a lot of unboxings and flip-throughs. So recently, every game that I get that has a significant core rule book, we kind of go page by page and see what the game is about, because if you're not familiar with it or you are kind of curious about the new edition, I think that adds a lot to just taking a look at the physical quality of the book. Actually seeing what is inside helps a lot. So we'll do this again next week. So as you know, you can find Chris under Hivemind on all social media, as well as itch.io. We need some more dissimilar names. Itch.io, Hivemind. You can find Chris as well as on Twitter and other social media. That's Hivemind with Y's instead of I's. And I do a single panel gag cartoon called which you can find under Abuse Cartoons, both on YouTube, Twitch, and social media. And if you want to read that cartoon, it's gocomics.com. The archive is gocomics.com/domestic abuse. And I've been doing it for 20 years now. So we're also working on a second greatest hits. So I'll be doing a collection, kind of a 20th anniversary collection this year of those cartoons. And I do a live stream of the drawing of those cartoons every Monday night, North American time, kind of Tuesday afternoon if you're on this side of the world, meaning Australia and Japan. All right. So that'll do it for this week. See you next week. And everyone take care and see you next time. Goodbye. All right. So sorry about my unsuccessful. I thought I had this. I had patched my tablet into the mixer, and was so convinced I'd be able to bring Matt up. So sorry, Matt. I sent Matt a Discord link and said, "Hey, let's talk on the podcast." Yeah, that's the way to do it. So sorry about that. But it made your evening more exciting. I'm sure it would have been. It would have been boring if you didn't have people saying, "Come on the podcast." So last minute. Hey, Joe, how's it going? Yeah, thanks for the link. Ah, excellent. Yes. Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there. Oh, wow, really? Yeah, we are getting there. Nice. Yes. Oh, 89. Oh, wow. 1989. Oh, yeah, no problem, K5. That was great. Thank you so much for being a member. Yeah, I finally got the Mishima videos. There was I needed to fix a kind of sound quality thing, so I tried a little bit of adjustment for the YouTube video. So the 3 Mishima stories are now on for members. Nice. Oh yeah. Okay, so let me go back to the beginning of the chat. Yeah, so we were talking about. So right away, Miguel was talking about the Rings of Power. They've been really fouling that up and not realizing that there's a lot of scrutiny. Like, people are watching this project very carefully. So they did this, super fan kind of, I guess it was super fan or maybe just influencers kind of influencers screening of the trailer. So I don't know why you go halfway around the world to a castle and watch a 1-minute trailer. But so in many different languages, but people kind of watch, though they have access to all of those. There's no region blocking, so people watched all of those and saw they were just this weird scripted thing, and that all of the influencers that they invited and gave them free trips just to see a trailer didn't even talk about it on their channels. And they're obviously they just looked at YouTube numbers, like subscriber numbers and things, to determine who they were going to invite, and they didn't invite Lord of the Rings fans. And then there was the superfan discussion video, and I think Amazon has benefited greatly from the disappearance of the dislike button, because I think all of these videos are just getting ratioed to hell, because it's really odd that they're not trying to create promotional material that brings in kind of as much of the fandom as possible. They're really focusing on newer fans, like people that would be identifying. And does Amazon really think that they're such a young, hip company that's the crowd that they're producing things for? I don't know. But Miguel said, the Rings of Power is turning into a big mess. While I cannot see the ratio any longer, apparently it must be pretty bad. That's right, because a super fan video was set to unlisted, I think, not even private. So you could still find it from the links, but they didn't want to have people wailing on it anymore. And even the trailer, the different versions of the trailer were being spammed with the Tolkien quote about evil cannot create. Just calling Amazon evil. So I guess they're not pulling any punches. And also stretching, what is about 70 pages of material into 5 seasons of a show is definitely going to be interesting. Yeah, you thought three theatrical films for The Hobbit was a lot of stretching. Yeah, this is going to be amazing, and everyone's going to have like a long lost cousin or a brother that we never heard about from the original text. Yeah. So we'll see. And Dave said, there's a ton of unpublished background from Middle Earth. Asking, yeah, isn't there a ton? So I'm guessing they will draw from that heavily. Yeah, but I think Amazon, like we were talking about with the rights, they only have TV rights to the original books, the novels. So The Hobbit and the three Lord of the Rings novels. And so because they don't want to try to compete with what Peter Jackson did, which might not be a bad thing to do, because they could really take their time and tell the story very slowly and give a lot more kind of build up to smaller events and things, because the theatrical film has to have more of an arc. So it wouldn't have been the worst idea in the world, although there'd be a lot of comparison. So yeah, they are just going through the appendices of, I'm not sure if it's all three of the trilogy, but I know definitely Return of the King. So they're in the back of the book, Return of the King, going, okay, what kind of stories can we tell? Yeah. So we'll see. Yeah. So Tolkien originals. Yes, I don't think they have the rights to any, like we're talking about the Silmarillion, the Unfinished Tales, any of the things that have been published other than the contents of those books. Yeah, or I think what the TV rights. Then that's what I've heard. People have also said there's been no details. No, Amazon is not talking about what they actually have rights to. And Hypno mentioned Elden Ring. Yeah, so that was an open. It's like a sandbox. It's an MMO. Is it an MMO or is it just an open world sandbox game, kind of done by FromSoft? So the guys that did Dark Souls, and it is also, I guess, a lot of the narrative, the character's narrative, was done by George R.R. Martin. Instead of finishing a Song of Ice and Fire novel, he decided to write for Elden Ring. So I'm sure it was a lot more lucrative and there was probably more money in it. But yes, and there was no rain at the beginning of the train ride at the beginning of this live stream, because I made it into the office. Yes, so approaching 2,000. Yeah, and so like I mentioned, so there'll be some more Warzone content. I'll be talking to Alex from Resnova soon, and we'll get some more details about what their crowdfunding is going to involve, and hopefully what their plans are, and kind of like why they decided to take on the Warzone project. I'm really happy to see Warzone come back after Protoss lost the license. That was kind of very discouraging to not have an active game any longer. Oh, that's right. And Miguel mentioned. So I don't remember the exact date, but the Rings of Power is being released on the anniversary of Tolkien's death, September of this year. Very, very bad. I mean, is anybody like paying attention to what's going on, or is that is that actually symbolic? This is these are our rings now. I don't know. It's very bizarre. Yes, and 2024 for the Warner Brothers animation. So that does, Matt said that does seem very long. That is a long production cycle for animation, but if it's 3D, it's not that bad though, because I think Pixar films and things, they have like at least a 2-year. The production is at least 2 years. So, but if they're just doing the cheap kind of Korean digital cell animation thing, that's pretty long. So we'll see what they come up with. I think they have done a trailer. Maybe they've shown a little bit of what the art will be like, but we'll see. Oh yeah, that's right. They should. Matt said they should use the studio. It's the French studio that did the League of Legends cartoon. That was gorgeous. That is really, really. Unfortunately, it was League of Legends, but that's really gorgeous animation. It's 3D. It's like painted. Using 3D models, but digital painting. It's just amazing. It's a really beautiful technique to look at, and I think that would work well for Tolkien, especially because you could push it darker or even cleaner, less painterly. So we'll see. Yeah, right. So the brilliant idea. Some had said, so now we'll get pop-up ads in the middle of middle of our Roll20 games. And that's exactly what you can expect once their profits start to slide after people aren't forced to play on virtual tabletop. They're going to, how can we monetize this? How can we monetize this? So the the pop-ups shall begin. And especially if they, figure that that's a good way to get the non-paying users to start paying for it, because I don't know anybody that pays for Roll20, but I've used Roll20 on a few different occasions. The TTRPG curious. that's a dangerous phrase. And Miguel said, when here's that kind of corpo speak, the gatekeeper in me intensifies. We're hearing a lot of that around the hobby, a lot of, and it's just a shame that it's all big tech, former big tech execs getting involved and stuff. Okay, of course they'll be able to handle online platforms and manage digital teams and everything, but that's not rules, that's not lore, that's not artwork, that we're going to see in future books. That's just how to process things, or how to get money out of customers without having to give them anything. Have to physically ship them anything. So that's then they're getting around, and I suspected that would be the worst part of the pandemic, is a lot of companies would try to minimize their commitments to production, especially if they're doing like Chinese factory production for RPG products, and explore just what they can get away with digitally, and basically charge you the same price for something that doesn't exist on a virtual tabletop as as much as you would pay for a physical book. So we'll see. Matt said, so there's a whole segment of the TTRPG players who now have only played on virtual tabletop, aren't there? Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there are people. So then that excuse, that inclusion excuse is, I guess people have a little more anonymity, so they can be a little more brutal online, but that takes away the, I'm not welcome at this table. When you're just gaming with a bunch of randos on Roll20, you can, every group is inclusive. So we'll see. But that is amazing. Yeah, it's just like people, there are people now that are like, wait, music had physical media at some point? Like it wasn't just this thing you downloaded from the Wi-Fi? Yeah, that's gonna change. And just like Critical Role had a big influence on people's perception of what a role play session is like. I think never having physical books and only playing it, and some of it, especially if you get a really polished module for Roll20, it starts to feel, and some of the virtual tabletops really lean into this, where you start to feel like you're just playing a PC game. It's just a PC, RPG with a fantasy setting, and you're just kind of, instead of the mechanics being hidden, you're just rolling dice. You're like putting all the mechanics, straight ahead of everything. I don't know. That's a very, it's a very depressing thing, but it will change people's expectations and kind of what they want to do. Yeah, but real life is much more preferred. So thanks again, K5, for the, you've been a 3-month member. That's excellent. Yeah, so membership right now, it gets you, pretty much everything that the Patreon does, and I'm still working on getting all of the stories that are on the Patreon right now for the Mutant Chronicles fiction up, but they will all be there. Nice to see you, Joe. Yeah, it's been a bit. I almost on the cartoon live stream was going to eat one of those unrefrigerated cutlet sandwiches just for Joe, but I didn't see him. I've been streaming a little bit earlier than usual recently, so maybe harder to catch the stream. And Miguel said, just look at what Canada did by freezing bank accounts. Without a judge's order, and you'll understand why crypto might be needed in the future. Oh, that's a good point. I mean, if it is something that they can't touch, but unfortunately, I'm worried that the thing with crypto is, the banks will eventually be able to cut that off, because you're not going to be able to turn that into real money. So it has to stay crypto. And if enough places will let you pay with cryptocurrency, it would be a nice way to avoid the nonsense that goes on with banking. It'll be a huge benefit for adults, themed things that banks aren't comfortable with funding. So that will be, there are definitely advantages, but yeah, at the same time, if you have money trapped in a currency that you can never turn into real money, that's going to be difficult. And I don't know the logistics of how much you lose, like what the fees and things are for actually converting crypto into dollars or yen or anything. So we'll see. Yeah, no, but that's a good point. It'll eliminate the ability for people to not like your political opinions and decide your bank account isn't yours anymore. And Matt said the problem for publishers is most of the eyes are on Kickstarter, not Indiegogo. Yeah, that's true. And it's got such a built-in, just like, Patreon has that advantage too. It's got a built-in audience. Once you are a backer and have set up an account and have backed a particular campaign, it just makes it that much easier just to click a button. All your info's in there, click a button to back something. And so you're in the ecosystem, and it makes it that the barrier to entry is so much smaller. So once you become a patron to one person's Patreon, then you just click a button and you can join as many as possible, or as many as you want. So yeah, it's that gives both of those platforms an advantage. So it is harder to get people to say, well, you want to create another account and try this again, and learn to trust another company. Yeah, right. And Dave was impressed by that free shipping. Yeah, $740 for a single book is free shipping is a pretty nice deal there. And free PDF. Yeah, that's right. Yes. And Matt says, yeah, save your money and buy the new Traveler core book instead. Nice. Excellent. All right. Yeah, and so I'll put a link to a Friend or Foe on Drive-Thru RPG. And you can see my illustrations for that. Yeah, that was really fun. And I love that setting so much. It was fun to try to do my take on that. All right. We will get you, Matt. We will. I do want to do a little discussion with you about kind of your inspiration, because I think you had interesting inspiration for the supplement. It'll be fun to talk about, and stuff that you've done before, and just kind of a history of like writing for RPGs. All right. And Miguel said in the Spanish version, only one had done something related to Lord of the Rings, and it was an online game. Nice. Yeah, we're talking about the influencer groups that they invited to watch the trailer. Yeah, yeah, they kind of, when they made a mistake of the questions they were asking these influencers, just tip their hands that they're like, I think I saw the movies. Wait, which one? I think I saw some of those movies. Like everyone's experience of Middle Earth was just in the movie theater. So yeah, they weren't exactly super fans, but they do have a lot of followers. So I guess that's why they were invited. Yes. And a lot of diversity in the influencers. Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Joe said the Amazon Prime price is going up again. So just in time for the Rings of Power, you're going to feel that price difference. Miguel said, yeah, fighter Galadriel comes apparently from the 2 remarks Tolkien made about her, tying her hair in an Amazonian way and taking part in sports, and once gazing upon an elf army. Yes. So, yeah, we'll see. Galadriel is a fighter. Yeah, and that weird quote that the showrunners said that Galadriel is full of piss and vinegar. It's like, that's a really terrible phrase, and really a stupid way to kind of characterize what you're doing with Galadriel. Yeah, it's brutal. Oh, nice. Yeah. So Joe's been busy, but I'll keep an eye out for you, Joe, on the Abuse Cartoons stream. And thanks for popping in here. This was great. Great to see everyone. All right. So that'll wrap it up for this week. And and check out if you are curious at all about Twilight 2000, I did an unboxing of the big metal tin that they did for their box set. And so the books that are included are soft cover books, but they do a nice job of making them like military manuals. You know, they're soft cover, but they feel like field manuals. And yeah, it's a great rule system, and I think an interesting adaptation of this game and setting. And you've got both Poland and Sweden as starting places for this setting. But they also encourage you to try to, any place will work as far as if you have any inspiration. So if you want to start it in, I guess it's not, now that there's actually a war going on, it's not funny anymore. But the Ukraine is now maybe the actual setting of the real Twilight 2020. It's crazy. Nice. Yeah. So right. So Joe said he's back to work after the slowdown of the pandemic. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see. Unfortunately, we're going to see that probably socially. A lot of people, it'll be harder to keep in touch with people because people are going to get busier now. And unfortunately, there's a couple of like really good YouTube channels and things that started that may have much less content or less regularly because people are going back to work. They had some free time, so they started a YouTube channel, just like the Complete Mutant Chronicles. I had so much time for a while producing those videos, and now, my production has slowed down. But Bauhaus is coming. The corporate profile for Bauhaus is coming. The script is underway, and it's really fun. I mean, it's to really go in detail on the corporations, and I think that'll help. That'll be fun for both Warzone and the Mutant Chronicles RPG if players want to kind of decide what faction to go with or what mega corporation to go with, to have enough background so that you know the flavor and the kind of attitude to give your character. All right. Well, good to see everyone. And I'm going to hit Matt up again, see if we can figure out a much less jerry-rigged and more substantial way. I've got a couple of better ways than Discord to actually communicate. So we'll do a little discussion. I think that'll be fun, and it'll get promote a little bit more the friend or foe supplement that Matt did. And we'll do this again next week. So hopefully Chris will be back. I can't guarantee. It sounds like things are really busy right now, so it may be until some deadlines are hit. It may be a little solo-y. And so if I can get some extra audio on the board, maybe we'll have some pop-in guests and the interview with Alex from Resnova. Look for that between now and next week. So everyone take care and see you again next week. Goodbye.